So guys, P2B have come out to actually clear his name on the treason accusations that he has been receiving of lately. But before we get into that, let's talk on what is trending today in Nigeria. So Baba Ahmed on September 2nd tweeted, or let's say he posted or said that insecurity in Nigeria traced to desperation to unseat Jonathan. Baba Ahmed said this thing, and now a former governor of Ekiti have come out to say that they themselves knew that Jonathan was doing the right thing when he was president, but because they wanted to remove him, they all ganged up, did the protest, brought in Boko Haram. This is what somebody was saying in a public space. I'm not bluffing. I'll show you. This man was saying it publicly that them themselves knew that Jonathan was doing the right thing, that he's doing well, but don't want him to do it. They single-handedly organized protests, planned to remove him, brought in security just to make sure they jeopardize his tenure. And guess what? This is what this man said in this video. I would like to take a look at it. And also, the Farotimi have come out to actually back up P2B to say that P2B won that 2023 election. That Tinubu rigged that election. That P2B won that election clean. And at the end of this video, I will read for you the reactions of Nigerians, because people are angry. They reacted on this particular video of former governor of Ekiti coming out to say that they are the ones that brought in insecurity, Boko Haram, just to tarnish and destroy Jonathan's era so that they can be able to remove him from office. So they knew that what they did was wrong, and they also know that Jonathan was on the right track, but because of politics, they went ahead to organize protests, to bring in Boko Haram members, to bring in insecurity in a country that they claim that they love. Just take a look at the videos or at these clips. Let me go to your views in the comment section.
We in ACN at the time in 2012, we know the truth, sir. But it is all politics. Even when what President Jonathan is doing, which 10 or so years after, all the political parties in this country agreed with. They even put it in their manifesto. Subsidy must be removed. Subsidy must be removed. Subsidy must be removed. We in ACN at the time, we in ACN at the time in 2012, we know the truth, sir, but it is all politics.
This is one of the most unpatriotic statements I have ever heard in my life. If you understand what this man said here, then you will understand how disturbing it is to have people with this type of mindset run our government. What he said outrightly here is that they at ACN, now APC, knew that Jonathan's government was doing well. They knew that the policy he was trying to implement was very good for Nigeria and Nigerians, but because they didn't want him to succeed, they lied to Nigerians about the policy. We knew that Jonathan was right, but because we wanted to take power, we found a way to condemn what he was doing and even deceived Nigerians to come out and protest against it. Simply put, what this man is saying here is that they knew Nigeria was heading to a good direction, but they disrupted it for their own selfish reasons. This is so serious and so disturbing. He is actually saying that all the protests they organized against Jonathan were fake and never about the interest of Nigeria or Nigerians, but just for them to grab power. Now I understand why Peter Obi would always say that he won't be in any coalition just for the sake of grabbing power. This statement from this man shows you that the people in power right now don't give a damn about Nigerians. Now you understand why they implement these harsh policies since 2015. Now you understand why they live in plenty while Nigerians are becoming poorer by the day. Now you understand why APC has thrown over 100 million Nigerians into poverty. It's simple. They don't care. Everything is politics for them. They play politics with people's lives. Very dangerous and very pathetic. God forbid. Dear Nigerians, this man has told us plainly that APC is not in power for you, but for themselves. We must do something about it in 2027.
Anybody who prefers to delude themselves can continue to delude themselves, but Tinubu knows, INEC knows, the judiciary knows, and so do a lot of Nigerians, that Tinubu did not win the presidency. He stole it. I said if he won the presidency, I'll leave Nigeria on exile. So let me clear that up. For him to have won, the people would have had to have voted for him. We didn't vote for him. He stole the presidency. Yakubu and INEC sold him the presidency. The presidency is not an expression of the people's will. It is an expression of the debauchery of INEC and the height of our judicial corruption. He did not win the presidency. If I had left, I would have been sanitizing and deodorizing a skunk. If nothing else, I rise and fall by my word. And when I said that I would live on exile if this man won, it was so that people will know that I do not believe Nigerians to be depraved enough to be possessed of the idiocy to vote somebody like him into power. And they did not. Anybody who prefers to delude themselves can continue to delude themselves, but Tinubu knows, INEC knows, the judiciary knows, and so do a lot of Nigerians, that Tinubu did not win the presidency. He stole it. So I'm not leaving because he did not win. It's that simple. That I'm still here is in rebuke of him. It actually cost me a lot more to stay here. It's not just the multiple level of danger that I face on a daily basis by remaining in Nigeria. Because if they will be planning my murder 3 years ago when they were not in power, one of his goons in Lagos State was the one sat at the head of the plot to kill me. They are the ones in power now. Ordinarily, I should run now. But I'm here. I am here because he did not win. He knows it. And every man and his dog in Lagos State knows it. He was beaten resoundingly in Lagos on the 25th of February. He couldn't even make 15% in Lagos. Segun Agbaje, the INEC commissioner in Lagos State, cannot produce the form EC8A for Lagos State up till today. I was the person who was charged by the Obi legal team to collect the election material from INEC. He could not, up until today, INEC in Lagos State cannot give us the form EC8A, which is the polling unit level result. Because they know he lost. He lost woefully. He was thoroughly rejected across the length and breadth of the state that he has held hostage. For 24 years, as at that time, he lost. So how much more? The other parts of Nigeria. Let them continue fooling themselves. He has snatched it, grabbed it, but he can't run with it. And that's why we are all in the mess that we are in today. So yeah, if he had won, if Nigerians had been foolish enough to have voted for him, I would have left. It wouldn't be because of him. It would be out of protest that I could be stuck with such evil people who would have found the grace to vote for somebody like him. But as I have said, they did not vote for him. They rejected him. He has forced himself on us. And we can't do much about that. But I'm not going to legitimize his stealing by leaving. He didn't win.
The Minister of Information recently called for your arrest, accusing you of treason. Do you see any links between your activities lately and any treasonable offenses?
Charles is height of rascality. Height of rascality. That it was even announced in Washington. I committed a treasonable offense, and I'm in Onitsha. And my minister went to announce it in Washington. This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about waste in governance here. People don't want to understand. The amount it cost Nigeria for him to go and announce that in Washington can fix, I can tell you, I've been in government, can build a block of 6 classrooms in a primary school. I'm sure if you go to his village, there's so many places where children don't even have desk or classroom to go to school. And instead of using that money to go and do it, he used that money to go to Washington to announce of treason of somebody who is in Onitsha. He doesn't need to do that. It is rascality of the highest order. These are the reason why we want a new Nigeria where things will work the way it works in other climes. From there he went to London, announcing the same thing. Well, I'm in Nigeria. He should have come to see me or invite me and say this is the offense. How did we get here? They've turned the whole thing into a joke. So what it is now is, what are we going to do to crush this person? What are we going to do to label him this? If it is not to label him tribal bigot, religious bigot, if it's not sticking, maybe we'll find his family, maybe have a love child somewhere, maybe all sorts of things. You know, duplicated identity, everything. Because I've been to the UK about 3 times this year, you know, this issue. So it's all about, oh, let's go to Washington and announce to them that is treason, that is involved in this, involved in that. Today, you're moving around with laptop. You are arrested. And labels all sorts of names. This is a place where people are thrown into jail for even making comments. These are places where people, all sorts of things are meted on these people. When people who have stolen billions of country's money, done worse things, are moving around, being celebrated, being used as an example to them.
A lot of the people who are most affected by unemployment are young people, and many of them are part of the obedient movement. What is your message about that?
Which country of our size that you know today is going through what we're going? We have almost 40% unemployment and 65% youth unemployment. When you talk about 1 to 3 million people being grouped as multidimensional poor, huge percentage of these are young people in their productive age doing nothing without knowing where the next meal will come from. And nobody cares about them. And that's what is happening everywhere. And again, if I try to say something, you will even see where I said, I will start fighting poverty from the north. And people say, oh no, he's insulting people from the north. Even when Nigerian Bureau of Statistics said that out of this 133 million people, 86 million is from the north. And I say that's where we have vast or cultivated land, and I believe that we can make more money from agriculture than we're making from oil. And the only way to put this people out of poverty is to invest in these resources and invest in them and everything. So for me, I feel for them. You have to move the country from consumption to production. And that you start, the basic thing is agriculture. And you move it into manufacturing and into exports. The country is not doing anything. The country is not producing anything. The population is increasing. You're not doing anything. It's a simple thing. And I can just give you a simple example. In 2012, we had about 162, 2011, we had about 162 million. Our export is about $130 billion. Today, we're already over 200 million. Our export was about 47 billion. So can you imagine, in 2011, we're about 130. In 2021, we're about 47. When our population moved from about 162 to 2010. In 2012, our export was about $145 billion. In 2020, as at that time, we were about 167 million in 2012. In 2022, we are now about 213 million. Our export last year, if I look at Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, is about 26.8 trillion. It's actually about 60 billion. So we couldn't even do half of where we are in 2012. What does it show? You're not doing anything. We have here an average container importation, just using container, not even using the containerized goods. We are now above 1 million. I think it's about, what I read last time, it's about 1.5 million approximately. Charles, several of these, up to 70 or 80%, go back empty. No other country. If you decide today that you have 1.5 million containers coming into Nigeria, and all of them must leave, go back with some form of export, put it on average of about $20,000 per container going back with goods. That's $30 billion. So if, for example, 50% of this goes back empty, you lost $15 billion for a country that needs every dime.
Now let's turn to the President Bola Tinubu, whom, from what I read, you recently visited or were shown on social media to have visited. What are the reasons for that, and what would you say to your followers, the obedience, who might, in a sense, feel betrayed by that move, if it did in fact happen?
Charles, it did not happen. I've never visited him. I didn't. You know, these are one of the things I'm telling you. They've turned the whole thing into a joke. So what it is now is, what are we going to do to crush this person? What are we going to do to label him this? If it is not to label him tribal bigot, religious bigot, if it's not sticking, maybe we'll find his family, maybe have a love child somewhere, maybe all sorts of things. You know, duplicated identity, everything. Because I've been to the UK about 3 times this year, not this issue. So it's all about, oh, let's go to Washington and announce to them that is treason, that is involved in this, involved in that. I did not visit anybody. We remain steadfast in the course we've chosen. And that is to do the right thing. We went into election with a strong faith in the law that was signed by Mr. President, with a strong faith in the statements of Professor Mahmoud, which was said globally, said it in Washington, said it in Chatham House, in places where even other electoral bodies don't come to say anything. He said it all over Nigeria. Even when people doubted it, he said nobody should doubt it. It's going to be this real time. Why do we have to go through that? Just why do we have to? Why is this country built that things must be wasted?
So why do you think he said those things and did something else?
We spent nearly $1 billion for this mess. We could have just saved the money After all, if the university striking lecturers were given 400 billion, there would have been on strike. We would have just asked Mr. President, you're going, please appoint somebody of your choice. You would have saved everybody, the parties that were running around, all those monies people use for campaign and everything, running around, even those who shared money for their primaries, they would have saved all that money, even for the forms, and use it to invest in the two critical areas that is keeping this country underdeveloped: education and health. If we have put 100 billion in primary health care that have just collapsed, and we have the highest infant mortality, surpassing India, that is 1.4 billion people. Nigeria have surpassed India in infant mortality. If we were put 100 billion naira on that, it would have made all the difference. We didn't. We put it in the election. And then we came up with this. And this is not being said by somebody who is uneducated. It's being said by a respected professor. That questions the entire. You see, whenever I talk about that educational qualification, it's not a measure of integrity. That's what it should be.
Yeah, but you're suggesting that it was necessarily something that had to do with integrity. They're arguing that it had something to do with technical glitches.
Which technical glitches? You had three elections the same day. The other two went through the same promise you made. The most important election in this country is the election, the presidential election. That's where we have issues. That's where we have our problems. That's what we need to solve. That's where we need competence, capacity, integrity, and everything that character, everything that is required to move it forward. And that is the only one that you have glitch. Which glitch? Can they explain the glitch? Have they ever explained it to anybody? INEC is still uploading the results till today. Does it make sense? We're not the only country globally. There's hundreds of countries globally. Why must our own be always a problem?
So guys, that's to tell you how the level where our leaders are currently. Because imagine a former governor, this man is a PhD holder. Sanusi, which is the emir of Kano, said that our Nigerian politicians are all acting like illiterate, because how can a PhD holder come out to make such statements? So this have actually brought out so many numerous reactions from Nigerians. So this person said that this is a PhD holder speaking in public. Greed and money make useless many people's senses in our country. And now I said, politicians will be politicians if you expect them to do things for national growth, especially when they are in the opposition. Then maybe you don't understand them well. I blame Jonathan for folding. And now I said, politicians will be politicians. Okay, and now I said that this is a treasonable felony. Not only that they made Jonathan fail, APC brought Boko Haram and bandits to Nigeria. It can never be well with APC supporters. These are the reactions, so many reactions, because this shows that this APC government don't care about our people in Nigeria. They don't care about those they are, because if they care, why would they bring in insecurity? Okay, you brought them and now you've won. Why can't you take them back from where you brought them? Why can't you take them back from where you brought them from? But rather you left them to still be causing havoc in Nigeria. Do you know that Nigeria today is battling with insecurity? Insecurity is the number one thing in Nigeria. Bandits. Okay, let's say Boko Haram have reduced, but most of them have crawled into banditry. So now we are facing and suffering insecurity brought in by our own government, just because they wanted power. They wanted to remove a sitting president. They brought in insecurity to jeopardize his tenure. Then now that they are leading, what is stopping them from sending those terrorists back from where they brought them from? is because they can no longer go back. So now they are causing havoc. But instead of our government to do the right thing, guess what? Our government are calling a peaceful talk with terrorists, where the terrorists come in with their weapons, and guess what? After the safety talk or the peace talk, the terrorists still goes back into where they're coming from with the same weapon. The government are not going to arrest them. But if this was to be in Nigeria, a mere Nigeria that comes out to say something negative about this country, about our government, you see how the government are going to arrest them. But here are the real terrorists. The government allowed them to go free. The real terrorists are moving freely, but yet those that have done nothing wrong are lavishing in the prison. Take example of Nnamdi Kanu. That all he said was that Nigeria have expired and that Nigeria needs to divide. This was the only crime of Nnamdi Kanu. But guess what? This man is still in detention till today. He have done nothing wrong. He have done nothing wrong. But let me get your views about the video in the comment section. I'll be the guys in my next video.